You're listening to the Fed and Fearless podcast. In part 2 of this 2-part episode series, I'm teaming up with my integrator, Jen Zucconi, to share with you the 8 most important things we focused on as a business to take our 2 most recent launches to multi-6 figures of revenue. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm your host, Laura Schoenfeld, a registered dietitian, nutrition business coach, and online entrepreneur with over 10 years of experience in online business. And I'm here to show you everything I've learned about creating a life and a business that nourishes you. On this podcast, we'll talk about the lifestyle habits, practical strategies, mindset shifts, and leaps of faith required to build a healthy body, a powerful mind, a strong spirit, and a successful business. Once you've gotten through the offer nailing and the messaging creation, everything else is kind of more of like just execution at that point. So the next thing that you would want to do is really make sure you're building out any sort of pages, website, opt-in pages, sales pages, anything that's going to be involved in the launch process, making sure you're spending some time ahead of time. And kind of this applies to the calendaring piece that we talked about, making sure that you're getting that stuff done well in advance. So you're not just waiting until the very last minute. So if your program opens on the first of the month, you don't want to be starting your sales page, 2 days before or something. Now that doesn't mean you can't go in and tweak stuff. I tweak stuff all the time. I literally tweak stuff like while it's open and available to people to purchase, but it's not something I like to wait to create until the end. I want to make sure that my energy and focus is on the live experience, interacting with people, nurturing leads, communicating with people, having conversations, and not like writing a sales page. So any of that kind of stuff, if you can plan to do it at least a few weeks in advance, again, you can come back and tweak it, but have the bones of it, have be ready to have it go live well before it needs to go live. So that way you're not scrambling to finish things and being super stressed about all the stuff. So I know that's kind of a short one, but I know, and Jen, this is an area where she was super helpful with the last launch, because she was taking stuff that we had already created and duplicating it for this round and then also enhancing it. So it wasn't like Jen was writing a sales page from scratch for our MBA program, but she was taking the sales page we already had and reviewing it, looking for any sort of errors, making sure all the links were working, and then also giving suggestions on improvements or uploading new things if there was some changes we wanted to make. So that's an area where having a team member help with that kind of stuff can be super, super helpful. Again, they're not going to write the sales page for you in most cases, but they could design it for you. They could check all the links. They could do all the techie stuff that maybe you don't want to spend your time doing.
Yeah, for sure. Check every single link. And I would say too, even to the point of going through the checkout process, if you're on a platform like Kajabi, where, you go straight to the checkout, create the offer as free, go through that process yourself, send a friend through it, make sure you're not missing something. Just check the links, because anytime a potential client comes up to a problem or a hang up or the link was broken or whatever, that could be the end. And you don't want that, something that was maybe overlooked, or you thought the link was right and it was a previous one or whatever the problem is. You don't want that to be the frustration that made them say no. So check the links. That's one thing I would add there just really well.
Yeah. And I will say tech sometimes doesn't cooperate. And even people that are running 7-figure launches sometimes have broken links. But, I would rather something break that you hadn't checked, or no, that you did check, that maybe broke later, than just be like, not even looking at it and not realizing that stuff was broken and not taking the time to review it. So, but that is something where a team member can totally do that for you, and it doesn't have to be you. Okay, so I think this is number 6 out of 8? So the 6th area that I suggest focusing on for your launch is spending adequate time and money getting in front of new audiences well before the launch has started. So part of our 3-month planning process involves getting some list building activities going on at least a month before our launch actually kicks off. And when I say our launch kicks off, I'm not talking about the program start date or the open card. I'm really talking about the first training that we do for our 3-part training, or if it's a webinar, the date of the webinar. And the reason for this, and this is something we're actually going to double down on for our next launch, is because it's a lot easier to sell to somebody who already has had a number of contacts with you than somebody who's brand new off the street and your launch is the first time they're ever getting exposed to you. Now, launching can be a great list builder, so it's not bad to get those people in that don't buy that round, because we have people that buy the next round or 3 rounds later or something, and it's, there is that relationship that's getting created. But for maximum results, you do want to have some time leading up to the launch where you can get in front of people and create that relationship and nurture that relationship even before you even invite them to the launch. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I would say some of my favorite are, we definitely use paid ads. We get lots of paid traffic for our freebies and the things that are getting people into our list before the launch actually starts. And then, of course, we run ads for the launch. I also love podcast interviews. It's one of my favorite things to do to get in front of new audiences and get new people aware of me, and even be able to share that with my current audience and show them another side of my expertise. And then even just things like social media or any sort of content creation, like even this podcast. We have people who join our NBA program because they're a podcast listener. And it's something where you have this longer strategy of content creation that gets people into your world and gets them in front of you well before the launch is starting. So that way you're not trying to convert super cold people into buyers, which is a lot harder than converting people that already know you and trust you into buyers. So again, kind of a shorter one, but that is something that I wouldn't wait until your webinar is open for registration to start trying to get in front of people, because by that point, I'm not saying it's too late, but you're making it a lot harder for yourself than if you were to start like a month prior with getting your audience warmed up.
Yeah. And I think another, what I'll tag on there is when you're not in an active launch process or launch runway, as some call it, or open cart, when you're not actively and in the moment pushing someone toward your offer, you're in pre-launch, right? You should always be in the conversation of what it is you have to offer your clients in terms of transformation, possibility, all of that. And using that, I'll throw up air quotes, off time when you're not in an active launch, to look at that as, hey, I've got even more time now to go research out some, podcasts that maybe our audiences overlap, or doing some Instagram or Facebook lives with some other practitioners or other people in the industries that we could have audiences, sharing content. I've heard that recently, that sharing freebies of somebody, another, health related in our world here, practitioner has an audience or has a product or a possibility and offer, things like that kind of overlap with yours, and you share things like that to kind of cross over. So I would carry this kind of bullet point here throughout all that you do in business, and don't feel like it all has to be like during launch, I've got to do all this, outside marketing and getting on podcasts. Yes, that's a great time to do it for sure when you're actively promoting a launch or a product. But remember, you can be doing something like this all year long and just continually keeping people in the conversation of what it is you offer, whether it's your program name or just the transformation you provide. So this is kind of one of those like, keep this going in the background all the time kind of thing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. So number 7 is promotion. And this one is always a little awkward for people. I shouldn't say always, because there's some people who are natural self-promoters, and that's not a very common trait, at least from the people that we work with. But during a launch, you're almost guaranteed to feel like you're promoting more than you should. And maybe if you get to a place where you're like, actually, this is what has to happen, and you're not questioning it anymore, it might change. But in the beginning, and even maybe a few launches in, you're possibly going to feel like I'm annoying people. And this is an area where, again, when I'm coaching clients, I'm like, you need to do more. Like, I'm not saying it's because they're not doing enough or that, they're not trying hard. It's like they just hold back because I don't want to email my list too much. I don't want to bombard them. I don't want to like talk about my offer too much. And the thing is that when we're in a launch, we are seeing all of our stuff, 100% of it for the most part. I mean, if you have a team doing stuff, like I know we have one of our team members does a lot of the social media for the launch. So I'm not necessarily seeing everything that she's creating, but especially if you're doing it all yourself, you will see 100% of the promotional content that you're creating. And so that is what your perspective is to say, this feels like a lot. But the thing that you have to remember, whether it's email or social media or ads, only a small percentage of your audience is actually going to see any given piece of marketing materials that you put out. So, if you get like a 20% open rate on your emails, that's an amazing open rate, which means if you have 100 people that you're talking to, if 20 people see that email, that was a good email. So if you feel like, oh no, I'm sending too many emails, I'm talking like too much about my offer, the likelihood that anyone will see more than like 20 to 30% of what you're actually putting out there is relatively low. And so it's very difficult to talk about your offer too much, particularly when the cart is open. Now, I'm not saying you won't occasionally get people that are annoyed. We certainly get emails sometimes that are like, oh, well, I would have been interested, but you send too many emails and now I'm not. And it's one of these things where it's like, all right, well, were you really interested? Because if you were actually interested, you would have bought and you wouldn't have gotten all these emails because we take you off our promotion list after you buy, right? So the only reason why you got this many emails is because you weren't actually paying attention to what we were saying. I digress. But anyway, so sometimes you'll get those cranky emails from people. And honestly, those aren't really the people you want to work with anyway. And if they're like, I'm going to unsubscribe, it's like, cool, somebody that I'm not needing to, continue a promotional relationship with where I'm trying to serve and support them. So I feel like with the promotion side of things, knowing that it's totally normal and expected to feel like you're talking about your stuff too much, that actually should really be the goal. Like if you don't feel like you're talking too much about it, then I would question, are you talking enough about the offer? And like I said, especially during the open cart period, this is a very short window of time where you want to be putting your offer out there multiple times a day to the people that are already in your audience and being as omnipresent as possible, which Facebook ads can really play a role in that too. But just getting to a place where people are likely to hear at least a couple of your messages. Because first of all, you put so much work into creating the content. Second of all, some people need to hear things a few times before they're ready to say yes. And so you're kind of playing a numbers game for frequency to hope that, hey, if I put 10 emails out in the course of 4 days, somebody might see like 3. And that would be great, right? So yeah, it can be uncomfortable and it can feel awkward and it can, and this is one reason why I like to clear my calendar for open cart week, because I'm like, I need to be available to like be seen and visible and communicating and, getting in front of my audience. But it is something when I coach my clients, a lot of times I have to kind of encourage them to not be so concerned about being quote unquote annoying because, and that is one reason why I typically recommend sending stuff to your launch list versus your total email list, because the people on the launch list are the ones that raise their hand for the experience. But just getting to that place where you're not embarrassed to send 3 emails in a day, 5 emails in a day that are promoting your limited time offer for your launch.
Sounds good to me.
Nothing to add. No, well, and I will say, and to be fair, with the number of emails, again, this is where a team member can be super, super helpful because Jen I think you did like most of the scheduling for our launch as far as the emails were concerned. And so, having those planned, obviously, like I had to write them in the first place, but knowing what we were going to be sending on what day and everything, and then knowing that Jen was going to be the one to take care of the actual sending of those emails was really helpful. Because again, that's another thing that just can get taken off my plate as the CEO, the face of the business, all of that. And it's something that I think is easily outsourced to a reliable team member, I should say. Maybe not somebody who isn't really paying attention, but somebody who's detail oriented. Okay, so our last piece of a successful launch. And if you want to go to your first 6-figure launch, multi-6-figure launch, this is what we've learned in the process of getting there. And that is to do a debrief as soon as possible when you're done. Now, I know after a launch, you'll probably be tired. You're probably like jumping straight into serving your clients and all of that. But I recommend doing this as soon as possible because there's so much stuff that you discover during a launch that you can learn, that you can pivot from, that you can, people keep saying that their biggest objection is this, so I need to deal with that. All of that information, it's like amazing how fast we tend to forget the stuff that happened during a launch within like a week or something. And so either doing that debrief as soon as possible or maybe taking some notes during the launch to then add to the debrief later is something that is kind of a non-negotiable as far as having a successful launch in the future is concerned. Because again, most people, unless you have a massive, massive audience, you're not going to have a 6-figure launch for your first launch. And being able to learn from challenges and mistakes and things that worked well is what's going to allow your next launch to be more successful than the one prior. And so that's why doing that launch debrief very quickly after the launch is over and really taking the time to think about it. And if you have a team that's involved with the launch like we do, even getting their perspective on what worked well, what didn't work well, what we might do differently next time, that's something that if people tend to skip, especially if the launch doesn't go well because they like have post-traumatic launch disorder or whatever. But it is something where no matter what the results of your launch are, doing that and looking at the information and looking at what worked and what didn't work, being really honest about it is a necessary part of the process to improve the results in your next launch. So we go through a launch debrief process that we've learned from my coach James's Business by Design program. And it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of numbers we look at. There's a lot of qualitative and quantitative data. And we always try to do that as soon as possible after the launch. So that way we don't forget stuff because we're like, diving headfirst into working with our clients. Anything to add about that?
Yeah. I mean, just kind of as you started that, this point is this is pretty essential because if you can't see, number one, what went right, you don't know what to do more of. If you can't see what maybe didn't go so right, you don't know what to do less of or change. And that just leads you to almost starting over from scratch the next time. And that's what you don't want to be doing. So go into this process, just put your scientist hat on, put your data hat on, be objective, take the emotional kind of part of you and just for a moment, set it over to the side and, okay, I'll deal with the emotions later. But really look at these as facts, as data. Here's what I did. Here's what the result was, what got me there, what didn't get me there, whatever it was, and just use that. And don't use it to change every single thing about the next launch, because then it's kind of almost starting over again. Maybe you can find one element that you need to work on or one thing you want to enhance, maybe not even change, but just kind of up level a little bit. And then again, let's do it again. Let's rinse and repeat with this one little change or enhancement. So yeah, definitely don't shortchange the debrief. Everything from looking at numbers to writing down things, as you said, during the launch, that's something I want to add next time. Okay, write it down because you will forget it. Don't think your memory will hold it. And just kind of add that as a little checklist for next time to enhance and add to it rather than saying, oh, this didn't work, I'm going to just start over from scratch. Because that's just as hard, if not harder, than taking what's already maybe like, not the best thing, but I can use the kind of foundation of it and just grow with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you have an experience like I did with the Fed and Fearless launch, where that was the last time I ever ran that program, the debrief was still helpful because I was like, I got to figure out why this didn't work. And a lot of the lessons that I learned from that launch are now things that have allowed us to be successful with this program, the NBA program. So even if it's like you start over from scratch with a whole new offer, and for us, it was a whole new niche, that is something that you're still going to take those lessons into future launches. So definitely don't skip this part, even if you had a a very suboptimal result from the launch. Well, that is our 8 things that we wanted to share with you guys about what really went on behind the scenes in our 6 and multi-6-figure launches. Now, obviously, this is not 100% of everything that we did, but this was really the 8 areas that we felt were the most critical to spend time doing. So just as a quick review, first, you want to nail your offer and make sure that you're selling something that people actually want, which I know sounds obvious, but sometimes it's easier said than done. You want to make sure that you do the work to calendar and prep the work you're going to do at least 2 months in advance, if not maybe closer to 3. You want to make sure that you know what key metrics to track during the launch and know what the industry standards are that are what you should be aiming for and what's reasonable to expect so that you can plan accordingly. You want to spend the bulk of your prep time and intellectual energy obsessing over your messaging and really nailing your domino belief. You want to make sure that part of your process is spacing out the time you're spending on things like website pages, opt-in pages, emails, that kind of stuff, and not waiting until the last minute to do all that. You want to also use some of that prep time to get yourself in front of new audiences well before the launch starts, so you can use organic or paid traffic for that. But whether it takes time or money or both, you just want to make sure you're not waiting until the launch starts to start building your audience. You want to promote your offer way more than you're comfortable with, especially when you're first getting started with launching, and make sure you're sending lots of emails, putting it out there on social media, communicating with people, maybe doing sales calls, all the different ways that you can get in front of your potential clients. And you want to make sure that you do a thorough, honest debrief at the end, covering both qualitative and quantitative measurements for what worked, what didn't work, what you'll do differently next time, and what kind of lessons you can take into future launches. So those are our 8 different areas, and I hope that this was helpful for you guys today. Jen and I have learned a ton over the past few years about launching, both in our own businesses personally, as well as working together in the Laura Schoenfeld coaching business. And we did want to talk to you guys a little bit about where we learned a lot of this stuff, because Jen and I actually met through our coach James, I should say, our coach James's Business by Design program. We both actually, when did you join it? Because I joined it in 2018. Is that the year you joined it too?
No, I was the next year in 2019.
Oh, okay.
And I went to we met in the live, the last true live BBD Live, which was in October of 2019. It was only a few months after I joined.
Yeah. So we had met through BBD, and that's how Jen became one of my mastermind clients for 2020. And so it's kind of funny because, as far as James having such a huge influence on our business, it's not just him being my coach. It's literally like he was your coach. And then, we came together as coach and client relationship. And then I hired you. And then now we're still learning from him. I'm in his performance mastermind. And Jen's actually in a pilot program that James and his team created for team members, which has been, I think it's been amazing just from what I've gotten from it. And it seems like you're getting a ton out of it too. But the Business by Design program was where we both started with James. And I look at Business by Design as kind of like your desk reference manual for how to run an online business, especially if you want to do program launches like the one that we were talking about today. And it doesn't mean you have to be necessarily aiming for a 6-figure launch. I think any sort of launch that you want to run, even your first 5-figure launch, like making 10K on your first launch, having the tools and the strategies and the mindset stuff that James provides inside of Business by Design is something that can literally be the difference between you having a successful launch versus one that is a flop. And it's, like I said, it's one of the only programs that I consistently come back to as almost like a reference guide to the things that we're working on. And James as a coach is one of the few coaches I've ever worked with that I felt completely over-delivered on what I paid for. And he continuously does that. It's one of these things where sometimes I don't tell him I said this. I don't think he listens to our podcast, but I literally feel like I'm ripping him off because I'm like, I feel like I should be spending more money on what he's providing. So, as far as honoring your investment and honoring, the commitment that you make as a client of his, he and his team go like well above and beyond what you would even expect when it comes to the support that you get inside of his programs. And Business by Design is his signature program. It's the one that no matter what level you work with him, he gives it to you. And even in the mastermind that I'm in, if somebody came to the mastermind without having done BBD first, he's constantly sending them back into BBD to learn stuff if they have questions about things that is covered in BBD. So even people that are running, multi-million-dollar businesses are still using it as a reference. So it's one of those programs that is just covers all the foundations of an online business. And it really doesn't matter what niche you're in. I know our audience tends to be health and nutrition, but he works with all different types of entrepreneurs from different types of backgrounds and educations and, things that they're working with their clients on. So if you're somebody who works as a coach, a consultant, a course creator, and you want to expand your business to serve more people and make more money doing it, then Business by Design is one of the best programs out there for learning how to do that effectively. So I wanted to mention that because we talked a lot about the 8 different things that we found essential for getting our launches to 6 and multi-6 figures today. And most, if not all of that, is stuff that I learned from James, and most of it is stuff that was covered in the Business by Design program, and I can't recommend it enough. Jen, I don't know if you want to say anything because you bought the program separately as your own business owner, and I know you've had, maybe a different experience working with James and his crew, but hopefully a similar quality that I've experienced.
Oh yeah, very similar. And BBD it definitely is, you mentioned like a manual, he refers to it as the Lego manual. You have this big thing of, big pile of Legos and you look overwhelmed. And of course the business is like that, like, look at all these things you have to do. But when you open the manual and it's like, okay, pick up these 2 Legos and put them together. Like, oh, okay, I can do that. And now pick up these 4 and put them together and then attach them here. It's like, he breaks it down to, I'm not going to use the word easy because that's subjective, but so simple. And when there is something in there, I'm going to kind of go maybe out on a ledge and say this, but I feel like it's pretty much in 99, if not 100% true. Anything you need for all that we've talked about here for sure. And those just fundamental, not even just basics, but solid essentials to start and run effectively and continue to grow your business are inside BBD. And I think another one of the, especially when it comes to something like launching, another one of the fantastic not bonuses, but just part of what you get with the program is the community of people in there who are so just ready to learn with you and from you. And it's just such a nurturing environment to share what worked, what didn't, to not feel like, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so. We're all in this together and we're here to lift each other up and to help each other in this thing that we call entrepreneurship that's supposed to be mystical and magical and fun, which some days it's just plain hard and we want out. But we know we were meant for it. And so it's just a great community of people to resource, to even just scroll through the comments and posts and see what people are doing, see what people are learning. And I can't say enough about it. It's done a lot for me and continues to do a lot for us in our business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we're both using it separately together to work on the business that we're both collaborating on. So I'm very grateful that Jen has that background because it's made it a lot easier for her to step into the role that she's in my business. And it's just great for us to be on the same page and having those resources to go to do this work. Because again, as Jen says, it's not easy, but I can say for personal experience, it's very much worth it. And even just preparing for my upcoming maternity leave, being able to know that we've created a business that can support me in a paid, 8 to 12 week maternity leave. I would say I don't even know how that would be possible if I hadn't done BBD and worked with James. So it's radically changed my life. My experience working with James is, one of the best experiences I've ever had as a coach and client relationship. And it's something that I know that all of you are going to love when you join Business by Design. So at the date of this podcast coming out, it'll be June 13th, and doors to BBD are officially open today, and they're not open for long. James only opens this program once a year, and you have the opportunity between June 13th and June 16th to get in. And once they close the doors, and you'll have to wait until next year. And what I will say is, as somebody who tends to make decisions pretty quickly, I joined BBD in 2018, and I didn't really start even using it until 2019. And I'm still glad that I bought it when I did, because I was able to get started as soon as I was ready and not have to wait until his next launch was happening. And the cool thing is, it's an unlimited program. So, we're still involved. We still are in the community. I'll still go to coaching calls sometimes. So it's not like, if you join and you're like, I'm not sure if I can use this right away, you probably won't be able to use it right away, because it's a huge and very comprehensive program. So the goal isn't to use it right away. The goal is to have access to it and to be able to take advantage of all of the different support options that James and his team provide, as well as all the great information inside of the course. So really, I would say, if this is at all interesting to you, I highly encourage you to check it out. And if you join with us, our team, we are an affiliate for Business by Design, which means we get a small percentage of the sale when you join under our link. You won't pay any additional money, so you're going to pay the same whether you join through our link or through James's direct link. But we're actually offering bonus support as part of the experience. And so one of my favorite things to do is to help business owners like you that are in the health and nutrition space take what you're learning from James inside of Business by Design and apply it very specifically to the health and nutrition world. There are some things that you would need to do differently than what James teaches. Not hugely different, but there are some tweaks, some changes, some adjustments that benefit a health business. And that's where my area of expertise really lies, is making those adjustments and making it specific to a health business. And so I love being able to work alongside the Business by Design enrollment crew that signs up through our link and can come to our extra support sessions. And we're actually going to be doing a 2-day live event as part of this year's bonuses. So we'll tell you more about that in the wrap up as part of this episode. But just know that when you join using our link, you're going to get access not only to everything that BBD entails, but also all of the additional support and bonuses that we provide for our health and nutrition clients. So if you're interested, go to lauraschoenfeld.com/BBD, which stands for Business by Design. You can check out the details of what we are offering as our bonus package, and that'll take you also to the sales page for Business by Design to learn about what BBD entails. And I'm really looking forward to those of you who are going to join us in it, because it is such an amazing community. And when I say join us in it, I really mean like be in this community with us, not just like be my client in BBD. Because like I said, Jen and I are super active and engaged with those communities as well. So I hope that this has been helpful for you today. And I would love to hear from you guys. If there was anything that was new to you or was a big aha moment for you, feel free to DM me at Laura Schoenfeld RD. Depending on what my situation is, I may be away on maternity leave. If you don't hear back from me, you can DM Jen and she'll forward it my way. But we just love to hear what you're learning from the podcast. And so feel free to reach out with any aha moments that you've had. All right, well, that's it for us. We hope to see you inside of Business by Design, and we'll look forward to seeing you here next week on the Fed and Fearless podcast. Take care, everybody. Hey there, Laura here again. Are you a health or nutrition entrepreneur who wants to start or grow an online business? And are you feeling stuck, frustrated, or even downright scared to take the next step towards your dreams of entrepreneurship? Trust me when I say that I've been there before and that you're not alone. I've been running my own online business since 2014, and I started my website and blog just about 10 years ago. And over the past decade, I've learned a lot and made a lot of mistakes when it came to creating the multiple six-figure business I now run today. And if there's one thing I've learned since starting my business, it's that you don't have to figure out how to transform your knowledge, expertise, and passion into profitable online courses, digital products, and memberships on your own. Contrary to popular belief, becoming an in-demand expert in your business isn't about being egotistical or selfish. It's about having a deep commitment and a burning desire to help others. And if you're not growing your business successfully, there are hundreds and maybe even thousands of people out there who are missing out on the opportunity to get the amazing help and support that you were born to provide. You're here for a purpose, and if helping people improve their health by running an online business is one of your purposes, then I have an exciting, very limited time opportunity that'll help you build your business even faster and easier than ever before. My world-class business coach, James Wedmore, is now enrolling new students in his game-changing online program called Business by Design, which helps struggling service-based coaches and course creators transform their businesses from the inside out so they can experience the time and financial freedom they desire while having a bigger impact on the world. In this one-of-a-kind program, James shows you exactly what keeps most business owners stuck and struggling and coaches you through 5 key areas you need to focus on to overcome whatever is standing in your way of success. His program also provides a wealth of how-to and instructional content that will help you execute every important task in your online business, from running a launch to hiring your first VA and everything in between. Now, I consider BBD my business Bible, and I've seen countless other health and nutrition entrepreneurs become wildly successful in their online businesses through applying what James teaches, both from a strategy and a mindset perspective. And these kind of results are possible for you too. Now, if you don't know James Wedmore, he's a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur who's built multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses in multiple niches. He's also one of my favorite coaches and mentors, and he's helped me completely transform my mindset around business so I can grow my income and my impact while also working less and enjoying life more. The financial and time freedom I've experienced from what I've learned from James has been life-changing, and I want you to have that experience in your business as well. So if you're ready to start taking charge of your business and your life, go to lauraschoenfeld.com/BBD, which stands for Business by Design, to learn more about James's amazing online program and to join before doors close on Thursday, June 16th, 2022. And when you decide to join BBD under me using one of my affiliate links, you'll also receive bonus coaching from me, plus training content covering additional tools and strategies that are specific to nutrition and health entrepreneurs who want to start, grow, and scale their business to 6 figures and beyond. These are my gifts to you absolutely free when you enroll in Business by Design using my affiliate link. So don't miss your chance to learn the business strategies that have changed my life and the lives of thousands of other online entrepreneurs. It's time to step into the role of confident CEO in your online business. And I can't wait to support you on your journey to becoming the successful health entrepreneur that you were born to be. Go to lauraschoenfeld.com/BBD and join me and thousands of others inside of Business by Design before the doors close on Thursday, June 16th. I can't wait to support you as a member of the BBD community. I'll see you inside.